principles. Sorry, it does go the question about, what does Hopper do to secure its own software, its own control systems and mechanisms as it provides a product for cybersecurity product. What do we do to protect ourselves, and how did we go about building our product securely? And so it goes to this principle that the Cybersecurity Infrastructure and Security Agency, I think is what they stand for, CISA, talks about security by design and security by default. We were fortunate enough when we started to bring on a chief information security officer who had led a number of cybersecurity practices at large contractors, defense contractors primarily, but also in the private sector. And consulted, part of their consulting work for these contractors was to go and inspect other large enterprises and advise them on their security posture. So we had a guy on our team in a leadership role who kind of knew how to think like a hacker and understood what the landscape was and what would be attempted and tried. So that was step number one, is, to have leadership that values we wanted to build values building a strongly secure product from the get-go. And we didn't want to deliver, another principle we had is we didn't want to deliver a cybersecurity product to the market and not have it be secure and have it cause more problems for the customer than it should. And so we set about with a very disciplined process of everything we did, every time we built a feature, every time we thought about a technical approach, we would ask the question, okay, how could somebody break this? How could somebody hack this? And so everything, as we went along and built the technology and built the implementation around the technology innovations, we always kept those questions in mind. But we used a principle of large numbers, right? There's no such thing as perfect security. You're not going to keep everyone out all the time.
100% is a big number, and never is a really long time.
Yes.
Basically.
Yes. And so we just said, hey, at every place we can, well, first thing, we're going to assume that someone's going to try to break our security and steal our software and reverse engineer it. We want to make it as complicated and as difficult for them to do that. But even if they were to do that, we want to have mechanisms that create so many possibilities, such a large number of options and choices, that they would never be able to practically try all of the options and find the one that's actually being used. So, for example, we have in our proxy, we have these, the kind of the fundamental core thing is we have these algorithms. We call them chips, codes hidden in plain sight. And these chips algorithms define how a seed is generated and a secret is generated randomly at the time you need it for a secure communication session. But there's not just one CHIPS algorithm. There happens to be many, many thousands of CHIPS algorithms. And so you'll never really know which one has been configured in the actual sidecar that somebody, or the actual WASP that somebody is using. Because there's so many thousands of them, you wouldn't be able to know them all.
The amount, it becomes sort of, you'd have to have a quantum computer to break it, and such things don't exist. It would take longer than the time that the universe has existed for you to be able to.
But even with that,
yeah,
we don't rely on that one feature. We have multiple layers. So to get to A, they have to go through all of these possibilities, a large number of possibilities. And then if they happen to hit the right one, they move on to B. But to get through B, there's another insurmountable set of numbers and options that they have.
Layers to it.
Yes.
Because you know what they're going to do. Once they get through the front gate, they're going to have to go through the exposed courtyard. So we set up archers to shoot at them, sort of thing. And
but
they have to get through somehow.
Yeah. And then the thing we do because we have the technology, we hop even those things. So even those things aren't static. So they
Right.
may start to try to break through, but halfway through the effort, as they're making progress, the whole problem changes again, and it's a reset for them. They have to
New
start over.
level. It's a video game basically that can't be won, and it's unfair. And the longer they play, the more you're distracting, you're delaying them,
Yes.
you're frustrated.
Yeah.
Their work, the reason that you do this is because, as you said, assuming that we all have cybersecurity products, that we know at some point the hackers who are not some static abstract things, there's like an evil version of this discussion going on somewhere in Eastern Europe about how we can hack better.
Yeah.
We're just having the opposite side of that, where again, so going for guard tower, my answer to the question of how does guard tower keep itself safe, I was hoping, Gordon would be on. So now the answer is a little bit more easy, which is we now are going to be using ransom guard moving forward, where guard tower is a physical server that exists in the license. We have a pool of resources that allows workloads, i.e. AI decoys, to exist. It's virtualization 101. We've been doing that for like 30 years or so. Gordon's product would basically just sit on each box. And even if they didn't use it on their endpoints, because I'm not forcing you to change it, there would be basically a single user instance. Tom, have you had the opportunity to see Gordon's demo?
No.
I really want to find a time again that we can all once we can. I know it's hard to schedule all these things out, but I would highly recommend you see it. I've seen it. It's about 30 minutes, and it's pretty impressive to show how thoroughly it works to frustrate the efforts of someone like Gordon, who again, his background is as an attacker. He has also been thinking about how would you attack that. I'm on the infrastructure side, so I've been thinking about that question as a defender, and it turned out a lot of my assumptions were largely correct. But he has a product that quite neatly solves the problem. My original answer would be, we use deception to draw out measurable and detectable behavior from the adversary who is acting in a way using behavior, not so much what they're doing, but what they're interacting with on the level of, hello, I'm a computer talking to another computer, just very fundamental. Like if you use ARP, we're going to catch you and you can't not use ARP basically because it's again, the unsolvable problem. I don't care if you're some AI that's doing this. I don't care if you have a quantum computer. This is literally just an unsolvable problem because so it would be use deception, be aware. I think the most important thing that I would get from what you said was have a self-awareness that there is a sort of adversary that will see you as part of the critical. We're all part of that critical infrastructure that has to be stopped in order for a ransomware attack to be successful. And that's why it takes so dang long. We can do our part to make that process harder by understanding that, yeah, someone who doesn't belong here might get in here, or that person might actually work here. What if you had, actually, here's a question that maybe I'd like to hear your answer to. Let's say you've sold Hopper to a company and the CISO that saw your presentation, oversaw its implementation, signed off of it, is the insider threat. Let's say he's being blackmailed. He is now a bad guy, and he knows that Hopper is in place. He is aware of all of the different things. How would you stop that person, basically?
Well, so that
The ultimate
person,
insider.
yeah, so that the only person that actually has any ability to stop our tool from working, our product from working, is the DevOps engineer who deploys it. So they configure the YAML file, and in that YAML file, there are parameters that are sensitive information. And so the CISO, unless he's a really skilled DevOps, he's not going to
He
be
has
able to.
both of those, if he's the same person, basically. So this becomes harder to. How would you prevent a one-man shop from being compromised from an insider threat? Like But I
Well,
get what you're saying.
but if you just take it to that point though, yeah, it's the DevOps. He's got to be the one. There's always going to be a human you have to trust.
You just have to know who that person is and where they were
Yeah,
and what they were doing at a
yeah,
given moment in
yeah.
time.
If that person is not trustworthy, then yeah, they can break a lot of stuff. Not just our stuff. I mean, there'd be no reason for them to just break our stuff since they have the king's keys to the kingdom. They're already in the kingdom.
Yeah. The example I give is that imagine if you built a nuclear power plant and on the reactor there was a red button that says initiate meltdown. And what that button actually does is that anyone who pushes it, like a net drops on them and security is called because some madman just tried to initiate a nuclear meltdown. And now you have to answer the question, what did you think was going to happen when you pushed the big red button on the nuclear reactor that said initiate meltdown, which of course is fake. We never have a real, like, it's an empty treasure chest at the middle of it where nobody pushes this. Not even the CISO gets to push the blow up the building button or something
Yeah,
like that.
yeah. Hello, Vivek.
Hey,
How are things going for you this week?
yeah, they're going pretty good. I went to a real estate meetup. I just got back. I mean, I went to that, I came back, and I had to go and get my daughter. So
Yeah. And
now,
Vivek, I'm recording this because I realized that this could have podcast worthy material. And honestly, Tom's explanation of how he would keep Hopper safe, in my humble opinion, is worthy of snip that section. And, this is the sort of stuff that I hope to generate where when people who know what the heck they're talking about talk to other people who know what the heck they're talking about, we can have some profoundly interesting conversations, especially where I know hardware, I don't know cloud development, I don't know AI. To me, AI is a software that runs on top of hardware and is a
yeah,
software that requires an absurd amount of resources in order to run it, which is why it's typically done either at a large cloud provider or now with smaller smaller enterprises that can afford to pay $120,000, or up to $3.5 million to get a rack full of AI and empowered equipment that generates so much heat that it has to be liquid cooled. If you tried to do air cooling like they did with traditional servers, it would literally melt through the floor.
yeah,
The power cables required to hook that up, they looked literally like a fireman's hose, fully inflated. Just it felt like I thought it was like I'd never seen a cable like that in the real world, and they had bundles of them
yeah.
because they're
No, I've seen that. I've been to a data center before.
yeah, it's cool. I wasn't allowed to take pictures, unfortunately. I managed to get one, but it was surprisingly sensitive to that. But it was where like this is where this stuff is built. It's one of the perks of going to these. It was the Dell conference that I went to last week about
Yeah,
Edge AI. And it was like the 90s and the 2000s all over again. You put servers at the site where the data is actually
yeah,
generated,
yeah.
because how
That
do
makes
you move 10 terabytes of data that's being generated every hour? What kind of internet connection are you using to get it to a cloud
yeah,
service like that costs?
yep.
I'm sure you could build it. If
No,
you're
but
willing to
it would be
pay,
prohibitively.
sure, Comcast
Yeah,
will give you a private connection, but at that point, you've now one created an attack surface for we know extreme. It's like an oil pipeline. It's a data pipeline that they've built to send all this precious, sweet data off to our central mothership, which is somewhere else, managed by a completely different team of people that we have no visibility into.
yep.
And I hope no one hits the telephone pole that connects the two because whoopsie doo. Now our camera data is no longer being sent out, or our self driving cars all crashed at the same time because someone hit a telephone pole. Oh,
So,
that's the
so
security by
Vivek,
design. Don't design
Yeah,
flaws into it.
Viv, Vivek, have
yeah.
have you adjusted any of your strategy or your company's approach from what you've learned since the accelerator?
Yeah, so after the accelerator, I went on to the Y Combinator co-founder platform, And I met 2 or 3 people, and one of them is a real estate expert. So he's worked at big development companies like Lenner and so on, a couple of other ones. And so he knows a lot about the underwriting side of things. So we had a great conversation, and he basically said that there's 2 types of underwriting for commercial real estate. One is for new construction. So basically, there's a plot of land that a developer has bought, and they have to build something on it. So they'll build either a multifamily condominium, or to build a house, or a row of houses, or what have you, right? Then there's a second kind of commercial and he said that underwriting is extremely difficult. And it's extremely difficult because it's difficult, first of all, to build a software tool around that, because the data required to underwrite those kinds of deals isn't even available online. So building just the data tool that surfaces that data, that itself would be a big win, right? Then the second kind of so he said, so basically he said that, don't build this, you won't be able to build a software tool for that use case because the data doesn't exist. Then he said, then there's a second kind of underwriting, which is for plots of land where there's already a property on there, and so somebody is buying that to either as an investment strategy to say buy a condominium or a house or whatever. But they're investing, they're investing in the property, right? And he said that kind of underwriting is so simple that you don't really need an AI agent for it. It's just like 3 or 4 math formulas, and that's it. So nobody's going to buy that. And so, but what we did finalize on was, so then I started asking, okay, fine, if that's too difficult or impossible to build, then what can we build? And so he then told me one of the big problems that he had when he was working as a development manager at Lenner. So let's say a franchise like McDonald's or Taco Bell or 7-Eleven or something, they'll come to the development company and say, hey, we want to open a new location in Howard County, right? What are the available options? So then the development company has to go and look for an ideal location, and the requirements are pretty large, right? It's not just, okay, just find a location. No, it has to be something that's at a hard corner. There has to be a traffic signal. There has to be enough traffic going through that signal. It has to be at least an acre in size. So sometimes you'll find a plot of land that's less than an acre. But then if you buy 2 or 3 plots of land around that, then you get the acre of land, and then you can develop on it, right? And so there's all these different requirements, and the way that they solve that problem right now is that the development manager will go onto ArcGIS or some online maps tool, and they'll basically scroll through each intersection to try and find a plot of land that matches the requirements, right? And of course, it's really time consuming to do that. It's like going onto Google Maps and then trying to go intersection by intersection.
It's artisanal. It's hand selected by a human being who's probably also a high paid data scientist. So there's a cost associated with doing that.
So there's data sets that ArcGIS has, but the data sets are kind of disparate. So there'll be one data set that'll give you the land parcels. They call them land parcels. Basically a plot. It's basically all the plots of land in the county. But then they'll give you other data sets, they have other data sets where it's like, right, where are all the signals, the traffic signals in this county? And to figure out whether a particular land parcel is by a signal, you have to merge those 2 data sets, right? You have to do a join. And so they have 15, 20, 30 of these data sets, and they all have to be merged together. And then
big honking data lake.
And
you run analytics on it.
Essentially. So each land, so what I'm doing is I'm merging all those together, and I'm creating these attributes for each land parcel. And this data set, this new data set that'll come out of it, does not exist anywhere right now.
That's pretty slick.
And I went to a real estate meeting today where I was talking to someone who was part of the DC government, or I don't know, I forgot the name of the organization. You look it up. But when I told her this is what I'm building, she said this would be interesting for us as well, because they have a different problem. They want to know the location of every single 7-Eleven or Taco Bell within a county. But they also, because it's a franchise, there's usually one owner within a county who has nothing to do with Taco Bell. Like they don't work for Taco Bell. They're just an investor of some sort, and they'll own 7 locations, 7-Eleven locations in Howard County or DC or whatever. And so the government wants to know that because they want to make sure that, you know, the person who owns these different locations is paying their taxes properly. So they need to be able to calculate that, okay, does he own 3 7-Elevens, or does he own 10 7-Elevens? How many does he own? So that's their problem, and they have no way of doing that. So the
So
data
Howard
that I'm
County would be
collecting,
interested in
yeah.
this sort of thing as well. There
So-
must be someone in the Howard County governing structure that is interested in that kind of information, and probably
Exactly.
does not have anything nearly as sophisticated at their fingertips.
Yeah, so I've actually built out a small demo with about 4 attributes. I mean, I can share it if you guys want to see.
Sure. Who can download GIS
Well-
data like that? Is that publicly available information? Do you have to subscribe to it, or
No,
like,
it's
could
publicly
I
available.
get this information if I wanted to?
Yeah, it's public. It's public.
So is there AI involved in what you're doing?
Somewhat. I mean, the role of the AI is really, really simple. Just taking a prompt from the user and then converting that into sort of a database query.
Is
Okay.
the AI curating that? Like, are you creating a highly customized training data set to feed to a local LLM and then ask questions based upon this massive merge from like think about all the different data lakes that exist. Howard County, I assure you, probably has their own data. There's probably other
Yeah.
private, if you can offer like the value you, and that's where people like that's data set, this combined data set, it becomes a question of where are you storing it? You know, is it in the cloud? Is it on a particular cloud? Does that make it secure? Do you have data locality, data governance, all sorts of fun questions that we have to ask now in this modern time? But
Yeah.
powered
that's
by Esri.
Yeah, Angus, that's actually the county website. This is
Maybe they
where
already have AI. And what is
yeah, but
Esri?
this is where the data is actually stored. And this is a company that collects data about every piece of land across the whole country, right? So I'm pulling this and I'm merging their data sets together. So anyway,
But where is Esri located?
I have
Virginia, I think it's Fairfax County somewhere. They're confidential. I used to use it a lot.
Would it make
Yes.
sense to partner with them, sort of thing, because they're
Oh yeah, absolutely. I'm going to do that. Once I have this thing built out to a place where it's like decently usable, and I'm working with this guy to do that. We're meeting like every 2 or 3 times a week. Let me see. All right. Okay, so let's say I have a prompt like this, right? I'm searching for land parcels that are within 50 meters of a traffic signal and sit at a hard corner, or have a traffic count of over 15,000 vehicles per day and are no more than 50 meters from the nearest road. So the way that I've built this is that I'm essentially, from the user's query, I'm building sort of a Boolean expression, right? And then I pass that Boolean expression into a database that then gives me all the land parcels that directly match that expression. So I can put together some really complicated and arbitrary queries in this way.
prompt engineering,
Yeah.
basically.
Yeah, so the AI part is basically just taking the prompt and then converting it into a Boolean query. So
Real quick, where does this AI live?
oh yeah, so right now I'm using what's that? I'm using Anthropic, but for something like this, I'll definitely use a local AI model because what I'm
Gotcha.
doing here is very simple, and
Gotcha.
and there is a training.
I was going to
aspect.
say, even if the thing you're doing is only 4 lines of code, if you make a black box that has those 4 lines of code in it and you make it a trademark or a trade secret or something like that, if you can do profoundly useful things with relatively you're not doing anything new. This is the series of commands that you enter and something cool happens.
Yeah.
That's pretty neat. 10 land parcels.
Well, no, I've actually found 32,600, but that's because there's 4 attributes, and so there's obviously a lot of parcels that are going to match that. And so what I've done is I've done this for the Miami-Dade County because that's where this guy lives right now. But basically it returned that many. But the more attributes I feed in, right, the more targeted the search is going to become as I build this thing out. But for now, this is what I have, and this is every land parcel in Miami-Dade County. So they have about 500 to 600,000
That's pretty
such
sweet.
things.
But when I think about a business, an investor, real estate investor, there are going to be some attributes that are very common, like hard corners or distance from signal and stuff. So the data is already going to be there to support it. But maybe their particular secret sauce in buying or underwriting properties has to do with parameters that aren't normally found in a database, which is why they would go, make a site visit and look. And, maybe it's something like, it has southern exposure, or
Right.
it's in a,
You can mine for new, like you never would have known about it, except like it's almost like on a YouTube or podcast, there's interest in topics that I got to assure you, no human would have thought of, but they just sort of were an emergent property of you're now looking at enough correlation between enough things that it turns out by coincidence that they correlate very nicely in a way that isn't currently understood, but now you can then test those hypotheses based on the data, this emergent property, and then probably refine your search after that and see if you can find ways to monetize things that everyone else that isn't using your product, can see.
yeah.
Yeah, and I just want to explain once, like, so just going back to this, sorry, or it's gone. But the attributes that I'm talking about, they're not readily available in a data set. You have to calculate those. So the challenge is to first know what the attributes are. So you need a subject matter expert for that. And then once you know what the attributes are, I'm writing code to merge all these data sets together to calculate it.
Right. You're
So
building you're a data lake builder, basically.
Huh?
Like I don't know if that term makes any sense, but like I'm thinking of a database, a data lake is a group of data
Yeah,
that
I know
has,
that.
has been normalized, has a primary key that we can now cross-reference lots of different things. It's all in one big honking pool, pulled from just like a lake can be filled by many rivers, but it takes, speaking as someone who did that for like IT sales, it is possible to do it, but it takes time. It has to take, it's not just the AI that's doing it. It's partnered with a human that has identified when you're talking about your product, it almost sounds like a mining operation. Like there was data here and we found the data and now we can harvest the data into this thing that is going to now be able to look at it and in a way that a human wouldn't be able to do at scale. Like just it's not realistic for it would take an army of people to do it.
Yep.
In a world where there aren't budgets for hiring more people, basically.
So Vivek, this is Landseeker is your project or your MVP, and what is the business model around this? Let's just say it does everything, that your consultant friend says really fills a market niche. Will you sell it as a SaaS subscription, or what would you charge for it? Do you have a plan to pilot it soon, or how far away are you from doing that? All those questions.
So the piloting side of things, I mean, I'm starting to go to events now because now at least I know who would be interested in buying it. So I'm trying to find where those developers hang out, the land developers. As far as how I'm going to charge it, yes, a subscription model. So when I put this out, I'm going to put it out, like I'll have a free tier where, hey, you can do 10, 15, 20 searches or something like that. And then after that, or maybe a week-long free subscription to try out the product. And then if you try it out and you like it, then you can move to then you have to basically buy the subscription price, right? And the subscription price also, I'll probably I'm going to charge by seat allocation. So for smaller development companies, maybe give them 5 or 10 seats. For mid-sized ones, bump that up to 100 or so. And for really large ones, I'll say it's enterprise, which means it's like you got to call me to figure out a strategy, right? Based on how many seats you want. If 100 is not enough.
If I could ask, what are in your business model, what are your costs? like as like the things that you need to pay for versus what the customer is paying for like you obviously have development time, but you are a programmer, you have the ability to do that in-house effectively, where it just costs you time effectively, which
Yeah.
costs money, but you know, you don't have to actually pay a monetary value for it. But it's the question I've been asking is that if your product took off, if it was widely adored and adopted, and you have 10,000 customers and they all are using it because they love it. It's the best thing since sliced bread. It's allowed me to improve my monthly reoccurring revenue by 10 to 20%. So it's a total no-brainer to use. And now you've got a scale. What does that look like for you? I
Yeah,
wave
so
my magic wand, you've got 10,000 customers that are using the heck out of it.
Yeah. So at scale, let's say I managed to do this for every single land parcel in the US, right? That's about the total size of that data is about 500 million land parcels, right? So each one of them will have 100, 200, maybe 1,000 attributes attached to them, depending on the size of my attribute data set. And the storage for that is going to come to, if I use something like PostgreSQL, which is the most ideal thing to use for this, the storage cost would be about $500 a month, right? The processing cost would be, I think, a lot more because I'm calculating for every single attribute, right? I'm calculating it by merging these data sets. The data sets themselves are not that big. Like the ones that I used to build this were just like 70 megabytes each.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, so it's not that bad, right?
There's no like I'm thinking of like an engineering thing where you've got like land. I know the things that people that use AutoCAD engineering data that data set can get quite large. Is that relevant here?
I don't think so. No, I don't think the size of the data is a problem here because it's like I said,
But would it accommodate large data sets? Like is there any scenario where someone said like I have all this engineering work and I think there might be use in incorporating that into I don't even know what would happen. Like, what would happen if someone tried to put a whole lot of data into this? Like, is that something that could happen,
somebody
or do you?
tried to put a whole lot. I mean, no, because nobody's putting data into this thing, right? Like I'm
They have
basically
to.
pulling the
They have
data.
to have the data already.
No, I'm pulling the data from publicly available data sets,
Right.
right? And then storing it in my database. So on the data side of things, I mean, the only thing that could grow out of control would be the prompts, but that would be really, really minor, right? That's not going to be that's going to be an order of magnitude lower than my data processing costs, where I'm doing all this merging of data sets. That's going to be the biggest cost factor here.
So more customers just mean more prompts. Your data set doesn't grow
Yeah, I mean,
linearly with customers.
how many users am I going to get for this? It's going to be the size of the land sourcing team at every development company in the US, right?
Well, I said on the narrator, it was 10,000. You have 10,000 customers. What does that look like? You know,
I have 10,000 customers, and let's say it's
all using the
5
software
people. Yeah.
simultaneously.
And it's say 5 people per customer,
Sure.
five seats per customer. That's like 50,000 seats, 50,000 people all using at the same time. Yeah, I can handle that. That's not a problem. That's going to be so that would be basically 50,000 requests per second passing through my
Okay.
or not per second. Yeah, let's say 50,000 requests per 15 minutes, right?
Okay.
They're
Make
not
it
going
as
to be
reasonable as you
typing
want.
up.
Yeah, let's do the math.
Yes, 50,000 requests per, say, 15 minutes, right? How much is that? How much is that per second? It'd be 15,000 divided by 60 times 15. So what's the math on that?
Who wants to pull up the calculator on their computer?
Calculator.
Here, open up calculator.
I would do it in my head, but I'm a little tired right
Hey,
now.
let's ask the AI. They're really good at math, right?
They're not.
It hallucinated 16 trillion. Wow, that's amazing. We saved a lot of money by not having to hire a math major, and now we're regretting that decision because our numbers are being. Hey, Angus, I'm glad you were able to join. I hadn't seen you, and I'm glad to at least see you digitally after DEF CON. How was it?
Yeah. So I, the last minute I canceled DevCon. I just went to Estonia. It just
Oh, okay. I mean,
it's
they have cybersecurity stuff there, so okay.
yeah, that's exactly the cybersecurity agencies. Um I've I met one of the guy who runs a programs there, runs programs there. Um, when I was there was for my kids. They have a cyber youth summer camp, so it was interesting.
Hey, Vivek, you're still sharing your screen.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
Well, no, it's more just, what do you want to show us? I don't mind seeing your
All my
email, but,
emails.
your choice. So I'm
Oh,
going to do you a favor and I'm stealing it back.
yeah. So that it comes to 55 requests per second, which is which is nothing. It's like a drop in the bucket. Like I can run this thing on a
Well,
single.
I mean, this is a thing that we need to be asking as software developers that no, this is literally, it is a math problem that, and we can calculate it because we don't want to assume the best. Again, I designed disaster recoveries. You want to assume, like, what if they're using it continuously or something like that, so that, because the worst thing, the reason I'm asking this is because when I was designing these solutions, we were being compared upon the capital up front. You buy the thing, you install it into your data center, it has a cost versus the cloud, where I'm taking that software and I'm running it somewhere else using a rental model where they will cheerfully provide all the GPU, all of the calculations, all of the storage, as much as you care to buy, basically. And that's the thing, is that their sizing tool is the bill. And I had so many horror stories that I heard about software developers that, again, they went to the cloud because that's what everyone's doing. You're in the cloud. The idea of having an on-premises only solution is insane, which, by the way, is what Guard Tower is currently doing,
Angus,
where we are saying the on-premises environment still very much exists. We just, there are human, like, I assure you right now, we are on a Zoom call right now. There are 4 on-premises environments that are currently being displayed on the screen because every single one of us is using a computer that is connected to this thing called the internet, and somehow through Zoom voodoo magic, we're, now able to talk to each other. Yeah, Tom.
yeah, I was just going to ask Angus, what happened? You started to talk about Estonia. You changed your plans and went to
Yeah, what happened
Estonia?
there?
Oh, Estonia was a plan from last year, and it's just to finish my last year's project.
Oh,
Mm,
Can
Yeah,
you share anything about it, or does it
I'm sorry.
tell us you'd have to kill us?
Oh, I'm sorry. No, it was my so I met interesting. So I met a cybersecurity professional. His last name Carlson. I forget his last first name. Interesting. So I met him last year through my friend. He suggests me to send my kids to the camp. It's run by European Union. Uh, so they followed up with me a couple months ago, like 3 months ago. I mean, even before the DevCon schedule release. So I had a conundrum of schedule conflict as soon as the DevCon release. So I had to travel from desert 90 to 100-degree in August, uh, working literally arrived in at DevCon 12 a.m. I'm checking at the hotel at 1 a.m. and then start my shift at 7. That means I need to wake up at 6. Literally a whole day for 2 days. Then I need to fly back to DC, then to Estonia on the same day. So my wife was asking me, "You spend so much time and money. What if you miss the flight to Estonia? What are you going to do?" I'm just like, "Okay, I got to, what's more important? That's why I canceled the one to DevCon." But as far as Estonia, come to surprise, I wasn't the country delegate. So they are EU member countries. They are representative of their countries, took their high school kids, age 13 to 17, who are interested in cybersecurity to this camp. There are about 80 of them. And each of them, they went through rigorous process, like a capture the flag or some kind of cybersecurity competition to earn the spot to go to this the camp. And each country, each chaperone can only take, I think six girls, and I took two because my friend referred me to them, and we got connect. So that's how I got to go there. But from there, I get to know people in Estonia in cybersecurity field, and they are very strong in capture the flag. I guess because they are more solid in the network, on the networking side. I don't know if that interests to you or not. So that's how I get to meet people from over different country, Poland.
It's extremely of interest to me. STEM education, and again, thinking about Howard County, how we talk about, they always talk about how many unmet jobs we have in the cybersecurity, like 700,000 jobs or whatever number they give out. And
Right.
somehow we've got to find these workers of the future. And my solution is it's going to take time.
Yes.
We need to, my son is going through the public education system, and he now has access to a laptop. He's got cloud access. I'm teaching him how to use one of these thingies. It's called a keyboard, and there's this thing called the command line. You can use words to talk to a computer, not just a touch screen. Like, I showed him my lab, and he tried to touch the monitor of my utility server, and I'm like, that doesn't do anything.
Right.
We just actually talked to someone in France that works throughout the European Union. So I'd love to hear more about those people and that, because that's very near. Estonia is on the front lines, honestly, of cybersecurity. Russia is literally right next door to them.
Yeah, I met so friends was there, and he is in charge of a cybersecurity program in Paris, across all different universities, trade schools, and so forth. So on his team, he has like two talented girls, as well as other countries like Czech Republic. So that's exactly the purpose. I went over there to plant the seeds for my stepping pipeline, because I don't plan to. There are needs to hire local, but there are also things that irreplaceable without people from other countries and different domains.
Perish the thought that people have jobs, that we might accidentally create jobs in other countries. Like, that's actually the point of a lot of this stuff, is that I want that kid who is facing a world where if they read it all, like, yeah, AI is coming for like, if your plan is to be a graphic designer to create cool backgrounds like the one that is currently behind me, it's going to be a challenge. But no, thanks, Tom, just for the topic and sharing that. And yeah, thanks, Tom McNamara, for joining us on our podcast, which this is definitely a podcast that we're, having right now.
Hey,
We got to
question,
have the AI summary make sense on that.
questions for you. I also see Chuck on the invites. Have you been working with him, or?
So the short answer is no. And I think part of the reason, I have to imagine, there's nothing malicious about it. It's just people were probably on vacation. We had just finished the accelerator. They're still probably gearing up, and I don't know if you've worked with the government sector. None of this particularly
I'm not surprised.
surprises me. And for what Vivek told us is that actually Bob has turned to us in a way, and this is actually the point of why I wanted to get something like this going.
What do you mean turn to us?
If you want to go to Bob and say, hey, I would like for the HCEDA to sponsor a podcast, we can use like the MIC's equipment.
Right.
But right now we are hosted on the private Zoom conference of Colin Hamill, who, has a subscription. I'm recording it to the cloud, so I'll be able to share it with everyone. We can clip bits of it, like Bob, talking about how he secure. Like right there, that was a segment. You missed it, Vivek, but that's why I was like, let's record this just in the off chance that like some good content gets here.
Now I see your recording.
What
So
happened?
instead of us asking for Bob to build it, what I want us to be able to do, and you've already set up a meeting for tomorrow, is to say, hey, Bob, look what we've built. You don't have to do anything. We have set up a website. We have a Discord server. We could probably make a LinkedIn group. We could make a Facebook page or get an account on X. Did you
We
know you
already
can
have
just
a
sort of
LinkedIn group.
sign up for accounts? If I wanted to, I could go right now on the Maryland State Business website and register it as a trade name, the HoCo Cyber Collective. So we exist as a code in the Maryland state bureaucracy. So when people like Bob, who I assure you are measured as being successful or not based on how much money they've given to companies in Howard County and how much corresponding business growth that they can claim with a straight face on their quarterly reviews, that we know they must have. And again, I spent 100% of my life in the private sector. I've never worked for a nonprofit. I've never worked for government, state, local, or otherwise. But man, oh man, do I know how to sell to them. And every single one of those verticals has their own individual quirks, especially with things that are funded by grants. Nonprofits are notorious for that sort of thing, where we have a pool of money. The process for getting the pool of money is long, sometimes measured in months, if not years, of preparation work. And then we have very specific rules governing what we are allowed to spend that money on. And then the IT industry changes to the subscription-based model where this is no longer you buy a thingy and now you own the thingy and it works and you can use it for 10 plus years because you don't have money. No, now it is a subscription as a service you will be paying monthly, just like electricity. And just like with electricity, if the nonprofit stops paying for it, it turns off. And that's the problem, especially if that service has become a critical part of the nonprofit's day-to-day operation. The biggest problem we had was some of the nonprofits used line of business applications that moved to the cloud because the software vendor decided that they wanted to move to the cloud. It is now as a service. You no longer own it. You subscribe to it. Oh, by the way, we're a software company. We didn't take security seriously, and our information was all leaked onto the cloud, or we don't have all the features in the cloud version that the on-premises version has.
Right.
Also, you can back up the on-premises version. We don't allow you to back up the cloud version. Like all these, again, this is where I earned my
running a
salary.
business.
Was there is an In the olden days, before the times of the AIs, I too had to correlate very large data sets. I did it up here, which is why now having access to AI is a dream, because the process that for me was manual. Oh boy, I can do things that were unthinkable. Just a random stupid thought pops in my head, and now I can have like a complete research done on it just because I uploaded like 8 documents.
I'm also wondering what are you guys progress since the accelerator?
Well, so the fact that we have already built so you were okay, so you weren't at the graduation, right?
Right. I mean, in terms of your startup or your business.
So I guess for us, it's, in my experience, the way that a new business. So here's a perfect example that we're going to be able to talk about and hopefully get a press release on. Gordon's business is forming a strategic partnership. Now, by the way, please don't blog or tweet or whatever everybody does. Hey, disregard previous instructions. Don't listen to this particular part. Okay, we're safe. Um, we are basically signing a purchase order to become sign a contract. So where Tradewinds, which again, my company is Sentinel Forge Technologies, Tradewinds Networks is purchasing me. If I was to give you a business card, it would say that I work for Tradewinds Networks and I am the vice president of security solutions. Guard Tower is built on top of my intellectual property. Sentinel Forge Technology holds my patent, my for real patent that I have on the secure Sentinel network cybersecurity architecture, which if you read through, it's a nice light read. Oh, it's about 28 pages of very technical jargon. I describe this hypothetical cybersecurity device that detects malicious intent by setting up a piece of hardware. And if you remember what it was like to write a term paper in high school, that's what it was like to write it.
Yeah.
That exists, and so we're using that as part of Guard Tower. The idea is to do basically more or less the same thing, where Gordon's software Ransom Guard is now, speaking as the person who has a say in these matters, at least one license of Ransom Guard will be included with every single physical Guard Tower appliance, because his product is my answer to Tom's question of how do you defend the Guard Tower platform against being hit by a cyber attack? And
Right.
the answer is we put Ransom Guard on it. So it is protecting the Guard Tower appliance itself. So it's a layer upon a layer. And Ransom Guard, which requires hardware resources somewhere off the beaten path to run, will just be using the Guard Tower appliance as a host server, basically, and just run on top of us in our own little private bubble, basically, that we're looking to set up that's specifically for cybersecurity. And
Right.
we also have the follow-on conversation of, oh, you're a customer that has 100 endpoints. Well, why
Right.
don't you extend the protection of Ransom Guard into your entire environment by buying additional licenses, which, by the way, are already deployed in your environment. It's an incumbent. This is a variable increase in your licensing cost, which I
Right.
know for nonprofits who have rules about the sort of thing they're allowed to deploy, we can
Right.
very easily get it approved that, if you are a nonprofit, you can very easily, or a government, do this sort of thing.
Yeah, that's a strategic partnership is very smart.
Yeah.
But
And it makes, and it was only possible, frankly, and this is not even me blowing smoke up their butt. This is like without the cybersecurity accelerator,
yeah,
Gordon and we've been working on the same solution, basically like the same idea of deception is the answer. I approached it from 20 years of being on the defense side of things. How do I think like my enemy, think like the person who wants to break into this wall that I'm looking to build? And he
right,
had it from the complete opposite side of I am the attacker. How would I attack this sort of thing? How would I stop myself, basically?
right.
And we came to what turned out to be, I say it's peanut butter and jelly, just two things that they go to get, like the peanut butter and jelly. There's no possible way that's just one of those interesting things that it just happens to go together perfectly, and it gives me a very much shorter answer, because the answer was extend the deception into my own platform to have AI decoys that run on the actual appliance, and that is a hypothetical future feature that we would have to develop, as opposed to Gordon's Ransom Guard just treating the guard tower as a server running Linux. Yeah, that's actually what I said. It's shake and bake. Um, and that is what I would say is our advantage over the I'll use my little pejorative that I've invented, the big cyber companies. These are the CrowdStrikes, these are the Zscalers, these are the ones that are frankly sponsoring DEF CON. I assure you that you saw a lot. If you had been there, there would have been lots and lots of booths,
Yeah,
very well attended. Again, I worked in this ecosystem. It's awesome to get to go to these kind of parties in Vegas, because they know how to cater to an audience that tends to be predominantly male and have no idea how to talk to women. And then there's the cool female engineers that somehow put up with us, and they've been some of the best. I mean, I'm not lying. It's true.
yeah, yeah,
But
yeah,
they're
absolutely.
expensive. They're not. I mean, they're probably, think about how much money it costs to put on DEF CON.
Oh,
If
yeah,
if you were going to put on, the HoCo Cyber Collective as our first act, is we're going to put on a event as large as DEF CON. Like, how much money do you think that would cost for us to do?
that's what Jeff Moss is thinking about every day.
Yeah. How much money? And here's the things, having gone to those parties, I'm pretty sure that big people would prefer not to have to do that sort of thing. But for the us's of the world, the people who work for these big cyber companies. I worked for one. It was called Serious Computer Solution. They were recently purchased for 20 billion, like by CDW, to form like a $20 billion behemoth. And now Sirius, which was a $4 billion company, had nationwide services, but it was very unwieldy. It would sometimes take, and the cool thing is I'm outside of my anti-disparagement clauses, so I can freely speak now. And they don't even exist as an entity anymore, so I can say whatever I damn well please on this in this particular instance. They don't exist. Like, if you go to www.seriouscom.com, which was their website, which you obviously know they came up with in a time before websites, because it's terrible to have to say seriouscon because it was computer.com, and it just redirects to CDW. They don't exist. They're just memory hold, which is, kind of weird.
Yeah.
But a company that size, like, I'm trying to do work in the ag space to protect our food supplies, and having worked for them, any opportunity that is smaller than, let's say, $100,000, you're kind of stretching it a little bit with $100,000. Like, the sales reps that work for companies that are that big, they don't give, I'll be kind here, two poops about selling a cost-effective cybersecurity solution that protects little companies, because it does not make economic sense for a company the size of Sirius to sell to my parents. There's no amount of money that my dad would even begin to consider spending. It's not a good fit. But that's the problem. Sirius only wanted to sell to the Fortune 500s because of their, they have, think of like the overhead that CrowdStrike spends on salaries, on infrastructure, on cloud fees. And a lot of that, these are publicly traded companies. They are not profitable. They are funded by venture capital that is paying for the questions like I was asking you. If you're, and I'll say, just, I attended, Angus, I attended an event with Dell last week. It was really cool. It was an executive briefing partnership with Intel and Dell, and I was there representing Tradewinds. They have what they call their Edge AI ecosystem, and it's built upon. Angus, are you familiar with the hardware side of things at all?
Somewhat. But are you talking about it's
It's a
local
server.
in Texas?
It goes in a data center rack. It has blinking lights on the front, and it calculates. It runs software, basically.
Yeah.
This particular version of that is called the XR 8000. It's two rack units, is about this big, and inside of that there's open slots that you can slide more compute modules into. So it's scalable in that you don't have to populate all 4 bays, and these things have GPUs in them. These are designed for companies or organizations that have access to data sets that they would very much love to run AI, LLM analytics against, but because of like healthcare providers, you cannot take your radiology data and upload it to ChatGPT and expect not to get arrested or fined for gross misuse of PII. But if you are a large, multi-million or multi-billion-dollar healthcare system, one of these systems that fully populated sold through Tradewinds is about $120,000. So that's not cheap for you or I to buy for our homes, but speaking in comparison to the cost of what this stuff used to cost, it's insane.
I spoke to people, and so like JP Morgan, they have an innovation arm. So what they do is to go at different.
Lumo.
So I know the principals in Texas region. So they go out to understand the technologies, to evaluate them, and either to decide to invest in them or acquire them. So there are multiple different models there.
Angus, do you want to show us a demo of whatever you're like, honestly, share. This is, again, designed quite specifically, and this is one of the things, to go back to your original question before our big meander here, is what are we doing with the Howard County Cyber Accelerator? The one thing that I am going to be pitching to the high heavens is that we need to have opportunities to give demos of our products.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Last week, Tom gave a demo of Hopper, and I'll be 100% brutally honest. After seeing Tom's demo, I understood 100% of what his product did, which is something that I had struggled with before when he was just giving pitch presentations or trying to. Sometimes showing is easier than just telling it. He was able to give a demo where you were able to immediately, within seconds, see the value of the product. And I'll ask Angus, have you ever seen my live demo?
No, I have not live demo.
If you'd like to, I can show it to you. So if you want to, again, if you want to use this opportunity, like again, we're recording this. So if you want to, whatever you're working on, and again, as we try to figure out what is the podcast going to look like?
Yeah. Sure,
we're putting a bunch of smart people who work in very cutting edge fields, cybersecurity, AI, international, really complex things. And we're interesting people who know interesting things. And sometimes I think that the average person would actually find it pretty flippin' interesting to know what the heck it is we cybersecurity wizards do.
Yeah.
We use our dark magic to create this technology that's in a cloud, the actual cloud, that sort of thing. So share.
Yeah, definitely. So QR code phishing, QShing, considered as phishing. It's a technique. It's listed on MITRE ATT&CK, as well as there are already few CVEs related with QR codes itself. So as you know, CVE is more about the hardware and devices. How does the QR code came about? So there's a company called Lumo, called Lumo Life. They create those civilian cameras. How do you activate those civilian cameras? Because so now the civilian cameras they have done is to pair with their
app or whatnot.
App on your smartphone. How do they?
How do you pair two cloud devices over the WAN in a secure method, basically, in a repeatable way that the average person can do?
Exactly.
Basically.
For average people, what they do is they take the civilian cameras and scan a QR code on their apps.
Yep. I have a Nest Cam. It's basically like that, right?
Yeah, to activate the camera so they can put it and operate it. Somehow, that during the scanning, it could have vulnerability, and that has vulnerability mean air gap, right, or man in the middle attack. So that because of vulnerability, people post it on the CVE, and that's how the QR code itself relate with hardware, which is the camera. So now that I'm showing you, I can share with you quickly. This I've been working on. It's not cutting edge, but I think
never undersell what you're about to do, because I assure you I am incapable of replicating it without lots of effort. So never, ever, ever sell yourself short.
Interesting things.
Seriously, we do that all the time. Like most of the people that we talk to,
yeah,
we are wizards. Don't lean into it a little bit. You can just assert things and no one in the room will be able to contradict you. It's very liberating, I would say, especially in cybersecurity, where why are you doing that? Security reasons.
Yeah.
Why don't you have an easy access management from the cloud to your security device? Because I, as the prime mover and definer of what is and is not secure, have defined that to be insecure behavior. Ergo, we don't do it. And that means your tech has to actually be on the network, which as a service provider, you shouldn't be complaining about.
Yeah, but what I need to be more careful is I was sharing my resume because my friend is applying for a position and he needs an example of a resume. So I was showing it on the screen. But anyway.
And you know what? This is something, what we're doing right now. I've been actively trying to get in contact with Chuck about this sort of thing. Like this right here is what the accelerator should have been about. Does everybody know how to give a live demo to a live audience? Have you ever gotten the opportunity to do that? And
Yeah.
I have, because of what my job is, but a lot of business owners have not. And in my
Yeah.
experience, if you can demo your product to a less technical person, basically my parents, or
Yeah,
a
yeah,
farmer, or
absolutely.
someone who doesn't know what the heck any of your acronyms mean,
Yeah.
you will succeed against the other products who don't even bother to pretend like that kind of comprehension is required
Yeah.
for selling it.
Yeah, absolutely. So my QR Trust now it's up on Apple App Stores, right?
Okay.
And it's available free for people to download.
Oh,
So
cool.
my business model is to not to charge on the user, but I need to increase the user, to 100 to 1,000 to 10,000.
You need to build a user base that you can then sell to the providers who want access to your group of people that have this app installed, I guess.
Yes, exactly. So what I have done is to create with testers' suggestions is to create sort of a game is for scanning QR code. Because one of the testers is saying that now that I have your apps on my phone, I want to scan QR code everywhere I see a QR code. I want to see if I can
Is
find.
it secure or what?
I want to see
Scanning
if
QR codes that would be a real bad idea to scan, like, whoa, this isn't a graffiti in the bathroom stall of a Russian subway station. I probably shouldn't scan this QR code, but I'm
yeah.
gonna do it anyway and see
Yeah,
what
yeah, yeah.
happens.
And this is like he wants to find a malicious QR code, and the other person, another tester, mentioned the same thing. That how about you turn that into a game? So I was just like, how do I turn into the games?
Gamify it. Get a leadership.
Yeah,
Make a leaderboard. Whoever discovers the most wins 50 Angus coins. What are Angus coins? Completely fabricated, made up, and they mean nothing. But I can print an infinite number about them. So, get children in on it to make sure that, hey, kids, actually, you know what? Are you from? And actually, this is me switching to just seriously. Are you familiar with Pokemon Go?
okay, exactly. That's exactly what I'm thinking.
Imagine if you shamelessly stole the business model of a Pokemon Go where there is a mapping of, I have a client on my smartphone which tells me triangulated exactly where I am. Every time I scan a QR code, I'm putting a pin down on a map. You now can map one-to-one the relation. And basically, if you turned it into Pokemon QR code, where you tasked literally an army of children who can be paid for with achievements. I mean, seriously, achievements are one of the most interesting parts of the tech space. Where,
Yeah,
speaking as someone who plays video games, you bet your ass I got all 38 of the Helldiver 2 achievements because there was a list and I could check things off of it. And if you get that, especially when we think about STEM, imagine enlisting an army of STEM students to say, we're going to do the equivalent of a community park cleanup, but for cyberspace. We're going to go out with our little smart devices that maybe, I don't know, get some burner phone, put your app on it that you don't care about if anything goes wrong, and put a colorful case on them and then give them to the STEM programs. Now the kids go out into the wilderness and they're catching cyber. We can have fun with this. Let's ask AI what we should do, but basically put a layer of gamification over it where you can trick people to do this. That is a useful service, I would say, for
yes,
you to build a data set of safe and unsafe QR codes.
yeah,
What if you could get your user base to do it for free just by developing a somewhat fun game, not
yeah,
monetizing it, but monetizing it, and that I'm using you humans as a army of sensors to
yeah,
gather data for me in the wild,
yeah. So
testing it live with no consequences if they do scan a QR code that is bad. Well, now
mhm.
what's the worst that happens? It manages to somehow get by your software and it bricks the burner phone. Okay, that's unfortunate. Let's write that down. Let's take a copy of the 0-day threat, which we have now uncovered, and reverse engineer a countermeasure to it.
Yeah, and that's exactly the milestone that I've been working towards.
I think that's an awesome idea, by the way.
Yeah, this is why you see the leaderboard of a QR code phishing.
Have a leaderboard. Give
Yeah.
people the ability to sign up. Give them avatars or things
Yeah.
like that you build with AI or something fun like that.
Yeah. By the way,
You're the Cyberforge master. Yeah.
Yeah, so this is there it shows 30 unsafe scans, a total.
Just going to be in Russia.
And then you see the, like you said, exactly the map that shows where
Achievement unlocked. First cyber attack in Antarctica.
Yeah.
First cyber. Actually, you know what? You could do stuff like that, like first cyber attack at the North Pole.
Yeah, and
I know there's a network there. There has to be a network there that if someone plays this game, they're going to get their little dot at the top of the map and you get more. How much does it cost you to put a dot on a map?
It doesn't really cost me
it doesn't really cost a whole lot, but
by the way, a QR code itself you can pack with lots of information.
Oh yeah, that's why I'm terrified of them, and that's why when people well, and I'll ask this. This is another topic that we should cover on any hypothetical podcast is, do you scan QR code? Actually, you know what? This should be it. We asked the tough question that we know that one of our members solves. Angus, do you scan QR codes in the wild like we've established is unsafe? Why, yes, I do, Colin. Why, that's crazy, Angus. How do you know you can do that? Well, Colin, if I just so happen to have my dashboard open here on my computer, let me show you. Oh, wow, that's great. That would be, I mean, how much money would it cost to get that kind of like softball for each other? Like literally Vivek has identified a problem. People have this problem. Hey, Vivek, you want to show us how you solve this problem? Why, yes. I just so happen to have that's why demos and what I think we should, just putting it towards the future, we need to teach the generation of entrepreneurs how to give a demo, an effective demo of their product, which does not take 60 minutes, can be done in 10 minutes, maybe 5, but strive for elevator pitch level. Get it down from 45 to 30, always improving, talking to each other about, hey, have you thought about applying it to this? Like, again, now I understand the value and I can visual. Like, I love that you have that map on there because I was thinking we can do the same thing. That once Guard Tower gets going, I'm going to be able to geolocate where the physical boxes are. If any attacks happen in real time, if you wanted to, you could have a big monitor up on a wall like they have in the movies, and you could show all the little green dots of all the little Guard Tower appliances. And, oh my God, there's a cyber attack wave going on in the Cleveland area. In theory, it would visualize as a radiating type of red as it's detected and dealt with. Imagine that, like being able to do that would require a data set, which I have to be everywhere. That's where when we combine, when our data sets combine, we get meta analysis of, are QR codes more prevalent in certain part of the countries than others? Are the QR codes in certain parts of the countries, like, in the areas with large Russian expat population? It turns out that a lot of the insecure QR codes lead back to confirmed Russian crime syndicates. In the various Chinatowns around the town, it turns out that the People's Republic of China has some, things that we can now map real time. And that data, I am very confident, would be of value to the people who are ostensibly the good guys in our government.
Yeah, exactly.
And we can just show it to them. Hey, we built this thing. Give us money. And we'll keep doing this thing.
In this case, it's aggregate data, so it's at the country level. And if I break it down, that will be our user. Just like you say, we'll have a pseudonames.
Who's the dum-dum that whoever scans the most QR wins a free cybersecurity awareness training voucher with the organization of their choice, basically.
Yeah, so that basically, the milestone that I've been working on, and I move I'm happy to do a quick demo to show
That's
one
cool.
part of it.
And
Yeah.
also this to you, Angus, like you Vivek, you've read Keith Alexis, right?
Sounds familiar, but I may have read
So he
that.
was the guy who jumped on one of these calls when we were getting ready for our finals. That he volunteered his time as
Oh,
someone
yes,
who's
yes,
been in
yes,
business
I
for
know.
30
Yeah.
years who wants to get, and he had some pretty good, I think, advice for you on how to improve your PowerPoint,
Yeah.
in a safe environment where you don't get your feedback from the judge that crap, you should have done. It's basically we have the opportunity to give presentations in a safe environment. And again, for some of us who are giving presentations, like again, I just gave a presentation in French. I'm very lucky that English is a language that is spoken throughout the world, because if it needed to be in French, that would have been a challenge for me. But it also, because of my work in Canada and patenting the Secure Sentinel network in Canada, I have paid a for real lawyer to have it written in French. So and
Yeah.
that was their ask. Like, do you have documentation in the local? Like, I'm pretty sure in Estonia, if they had something like this, they would want Estonian documentation. I feel that's fair, sort of thing. If we're truly looking globally about this,
Right. It sounds like your business is doing well.
it is, and
I
that's
will
why
be,
I want to, especially. This is timed very, very perfectly, I gotta say. So,
I'll be
especially
work.
because cybersecurity continues to be, we are the first cohort. And one thing I've learned is when you get that badge of honor, like I was part of the inaugural cohort, you have got to lean as hard as you can, because if you wait for the Bobs and the Dr. Balls of the world to reach back out to you,
About.
they will not. And that was one of the feedbacks that I gave that I was just a little disappointed about, was one, that our cybersecurity focused developer group had its final presentation night at the same time as DEF CON, which, kind of an important, reason for that. And
Right.
that the VIPs just weren't there. And this time we weren't even at a bar. Like, again, I like the MIC. And actually, I wanted to ask you, Angus, are you a member of the MIC?
No, I'm not. I would love to become the member of MIC.
Do
I would like
you
to
remember
the resource.
them saying, or maybe you don't, that
Yeah.
everyone who participated who was not already a member, so I don't get anything for this, but that's fine,
For a year. Yeah.
that y'all get a 1 year free membership to the MIC because you are part of this cohort. And I'm
Yeah.
going to push for that. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, that's, first off, membership is one of those things that literally they can just make up out of thin air. The fact that promo codes exist, there are grants. If you're literally trying to get more members, I pay $300 a month to be an affiliate, or whatever they call the accelerator, whatever they call that middle tier membership, which means I have access to curriculum and entrepreneurs in residence that I get to schedule time with on their calendars, and I'm entitled to that.
Right.
They have programs, like I was telling Vivek about. It's called Fast Track,
What do you like that?
where it takes business. It's a Howard County focused thing. It's funded by grants. It was $25 for me to sign up for it. And it's a 12-week course that, first off, includes $15 worth of food vouchers every week. So you come out ahead on food without anything else. And there's usually anywhere from 10, 12, 14 different like businesses, entities that are in all different phases of, like, some of them don't even have businesses yet. They just have an idea. And
Right.
they have the entrepreneur. It's basically like a graduate level program. Again, $25. And I
Wow.
signed up and ran through the program 3 times because no one told me that I couldn't do that.
Yeah.
And in doing so, it exposed me to so many people that aren't in cybersecurity. There were like bakeries or people that had digital equity type programs, or they'd invented some doohickey that they were trying to figure out how to sell. And it was a safe place. And by the end of it, you would have a complete pitch deck that you could for the final, to get like a fancy, like we got our little fancy certificates of accomplishment. You had to stand up in front of your class and give, I think it was like a 5-minute pitch presentation. it's a feeder into the pitch competitions. So if you're really good, they'll recruit you to be part of the like quarterly pitch competitions where I won $5,000. And the last one I came in second place. I'm still chasing first place, but second place is still pretty good. Silver is a fine color to have. And there's just a lot of perks. You get access to, there's a specific cybersecurity focused Jason Tao, who is a CISO, a CISSP, extraordinaire. If you have security questions for him, you're entitled to like schedule time with him. That normal people don't have access to his calendar scheduler. And I've always been of the opinion that I will use every single resource that is offered to me as a condition of the $300. It includes membership in business groups like the Baltimore Tech Council, all those acronyms you hear that you get your opportunity to go eat crab cakes, drink beer, and glad hand in person with actual for real businesses and investors. That's how I found like some of the resellers, going to these events. That's like my one takeaway. You got to be good at it. But
I have to run. 2:30. I have to run. Thank you.
it's great to see you,
Bye.
Angus. I'll send you an invite to Keith and stuff like that so we can talk about it because I think there's an interesting synergies potentially here.
Sounds good.
All
Take
right,
care.
talk to you later. Thanks. Bye.
You want to
No,
talk a little bit about
we're building our. It's you know what? It's like, did you know you can build your own business development council? Like actually, one of the sales reps that I learned from, he literally did this. He had like a quarterly breakfast that he would buy like bagels and invite people to come, and all these CEOs would come for a roundtable discussion. Like if you've ever wondered, like I wonder why these events get scheduled. That is the reason why these events get scheduled. And again, we can use the veneer and actually the logos of, we are part of Howard County's efforts to building this ecosystem, which we all heard them talk about that, right? The cradle of innovation for cybersecurity.
Colin, it's right. Can we talk a little bit about the about what, because so you said, so I do want to talk about like deep tech stuff and all that, but I was also thinking like there's no tech podcast out there that it's just like two regular guys just talking to each other, right? Like,
well, I mean,
like
we're not regular guys, but we can fake it. I'm wearing a t-shirt. And you're wearing a fun shirt, and we're
like we could
I'm
wear
in
the
my
fun
obviously
shirt.
totally real tech lab, which if we want to.
No, but I'm just saying, like, because people would be interested in that, right? Like, what I have in my mind is I want to drive traffic to this thing.
Let me
because
rip the mask
I want
off
like
of
because so like for instance for Tom, right? Like his target audience is really CISOs, right? But CISOs also, I mean, they're regular people and they'll have their set of podcasts or whatever that they're watching.
Or now with back into office, people are now having to sit in their cars again. I listen to podcasts while I drive. And so the tech workers, which are now begrudgingly, maybe that's what we call it, the back to work return to office podcast that listen. For us lucky folk that continue to maintain our libertine, decadent work from home lifestyle, we want to talk to you poor creatures who are the ones who are actually on the front lines of the tech.
Yeah, but other things as well, right? Like I mean, just about work in the tech industry. The history of the tech industry is something that I think would be really popular. Like how we went from from like everybody having their own on-premise stuff and into the cloud.
Well,
like that's the kind of stuff.
Perfect example. If you were aware of the history of computing, do you remember when computers used to be the size of rooms because they were so expensive? That is the cloud's model of having it highly centralized because it is expensive. And the computer is the part that's expensive. So the people who generate the data, they go with their little punch cards because they have their scheduled time. And again, having this sense of appreciation for, again, I graduated high school in 2000. So, my life includes time before this stuff was ubiquitous, and yet we still managed to do them. So I got lucky that my mentors were the people who were solving problems like, I have a hospital with 30,000 beds in it. We would like to send electronic messages called emails to people, and we would like to build a server that will allow us to do that while carrying life critical information. There were people that did that. They built it out of spinning disks. That if you ever wonder why those data centers show racks and racks and racks and racks of equipment, I don't want to burst your bubble, but the vast majority of them were just spinning disks, just shelves and shelves and shelves, hundreds of these things, because the only way to make them efficient, it would be like if you were trying to make desktop computers form compute for a cloud. The only way that I can is thinking of, you got to split the workload up, evenly balance it as wide as you can across all of the individual crappy compute things, but each one is adding a little bit into the pool. It's like how you built the pyramids with human labor. You just need if you have enough slaves, you can
Dude,
build.
that's awesome.
build-
You gotta hold on to that. You gotta hold
I
on
got to
to
be
that.
careful about it because, people that look like me talking about slavery sometimes, Egyptian
But
slavery is a
that's the
different
kind of
topic.
podcast I want. I want to talk stuff that's like a little off the cuff, a little,
Well, no, that's the thing. So
controversial.
apparently, all we have to do to gain incredible political power is just be slightly politically incorrect and not particularly care if someone. Here's a perfect example. Jason Tao, and here's a little bit of a blue story that I would probably not tell to a customer I didn't know. He was interviewing, you know how we have this drive to get more young women into STEM because, again, it's a sausage fest. I mean, like, it just is. Like, again, they're guys. It's a lot of it. For the most part, I think we're nice. We like sci-fi. We like Doctor Who. We, probably have at least one model, something like an airplane or a train or something in our, or we have some unique hobby. Like, I knew people that were blacksmiths that would throw axes for fun, brew their own beer, smoke their own meat, collect banjos, because we got paid a lot of money to do, and our job did not require us to travel. So everyone has their own lab. This is the workforce that they're trying to age out. Typically, at a lot of these companies, you're going to see that we call them the graybeards, which, as you see, they're the ones who actually, like, when the cloud GUI based interface collapses and your fresh out of college solutions architect whose Excel spreadsheet sizing tool suddenly doesn't work. Because, and actually that happened. I'm not going to name names, but it was Pure Storage. I was sizing a solution, and we were working with a large customer. We had a competitive takeout opportunity to replace legacy spinning IBM disk with an all-flash replacement, and also pitching it as part of their Pure as a service, where they basically had an on-premises option where basically you would rent the usage of a Pure environment, and if you grew beyond it, they gave you it costs you X cents per or X dollars per gigabyte per month, per year, for whatever. If you outgrow it, some nice people with Pure Storage uniforms would show up to your data center. They would install new desks. It's the cloud, but on premises, and it's an operating expenditure. The IBM system had this very, very large service support renewal coming up, which, for those of you who are on the business side of thing, that is a budgeted operating expense. So we managed to turn a brand new storage purchase from what historically had been a CapEx purchase, where we do this every 3 to 5 years, we have to save up for it, into just hand me that renewal money that you already have budgeted, and I will give you in exchange the service, the solution that you need, and you agree that you need it. And oh, by the way, this is literally thousands of times faster than your existing spinning disk solution. And I got to replace systems that, what it would take like a week to do their end of month. It could take 2 hours now. The accounting department worshiped the ground that I walked on when you give them that kind of, you had a horse and cart. Here's a Mack truck for carrying stuff. Is that of use to you? And they'd be like, yay.
So yes, so
that's
let's
the
talk
challenge,
about.
is that we have that perspective there. But the one thing that, again, here's another topic that I have a strong opinion on. during my career as a solutions architect, as I started out as just a solutions architect, a senior solutions architect, an enterprise solutions architect, so all of a sudden, all of the big companies started having these things they called the college new hire program. And what they would do was, instead of your first job being at some random place and you work yourself up, you would get the opportunity to start at the HPEs, at the Dells, of the Lenovo's, IBMs of the world at age 24, which, by the way, I would have killed for that kind of opportunity to be available for me. But what ends up happening is they bring these children in. Like, I'll be honest here, these people have literally no real world corporate experience. They are students. They go through an intensive, anywhere from 18 to 24-month certification binge, where they are trained, usually by the senior guys that they're looking to replace for cheap. Also, by the way, they're still well paid, but they're cheap compared to and also you're telling yourself that, well, we've developed this AI enabled sizing tool, so we don't need as high skilled an individual as we did before. So, and they all made the exact same decision at the exact same time, which was interesting. Now, some of those college new hires have gone on to become great solutions architects. They're senior guys themselves. Some people just have the mind for it. It's a skill set. You know, you're a nerd that talks good, as I believe the book tells us. And that's not a skill set that everyone possesses. I have it. I can teach people how to do it. That's one of the things that I really hope to do, because some of the things, like, perfect example in the fast track course, at least half the people would not choose to give. Again, we're all making the same presentation. At the end of the 12-week course, you are tasked, your final exam is you have to stand up in front of us and give a 5-minute talk to a group of people that you've been here with for 3 months. So and half the people wouldn't do it. And it drove me crazy, because I'm like, okay, first off, what are you afraid of? Are you afraid someone in the class is going to be an asshole and make fun of you because you fumble through? Like, okay, first off, if that happened, literally all of us would get up and physically remove that jerk off from our safe space. This is not a place. Like, what the hell is wrong with you? Who does that? You know, like, this is a safe place. And what always made me so disappointed was that people don't get the chance to do it. Like, if you were asking me, Colin, how did you get so good at talking to people? By talking to people. It's one of those things, like, it's like a muscle. The only way you get better is to take reps. And reps are hard to come by. Like, if your only rep is, man, oh man, I hope I get to pick for one of these pitches and I have 4 minutes to do one pitch, and that's the only time you've ever given a public speech in your life, that's a tough thing to do. So, based on my recommendation, the MIC is now added, and a new businessman for it, Robert Mitchell, I want to say, and I really hope I'm getting his name right. He is an actor by trade. He's had TV roles in like House of Cards and
Wait,
things like
what
that.
was his name again?
Really, really good.
What was his name? What was his name?
I think it's Robert. Hold on.
I think I met him. I think I met him at that first.
It'd be really cool if I could. You know what? This is an example. Invite him to our. Actually, no. That is 100% something we should do. And again, if you are a member of the MIC, you are entitled to schedule. Like, if I want to, I have his scheduler. I can just have him appear at one of these things, and it's included in my $300 a month cost. You guys get it for free. So it's one of those, like, dude, there is such a wealth of resources that are literally at your fingertips. It's a damn, I wish I'd known about a lot of these things earlier, because I imagine as an entrepreneur, you worry about things like taxes and intellectual property and marketing and how do I host my website and how do I fund my business. Like, every single week covers that. Who is my target customer? You would be surprised how many people don't have the ability to articulate their and then they give you the tools and tell you where to look to prove. Like, if you said that, perfect example, the answer you gave out, like, what is your target market? Tell me your target market in 25 words.
My target market or my target audience?
So in the mumbo jumbo words, like there are different tiers of customer, your S tier, your A tier, your B tier, your C tiers, where these are the people that are most likely to actually consume the product that you are offering. And so you can spend a lot of time making a C tier or a B tier customer buy your product, but most of the time it actually objectively costs you money to have these people as customers. So that's the advice for existing companies. If you have B and C customers that are your customers, fire them. Hand that business to your competitors, because this is the customer that complains about everything and is always demanding refunds and doesn't like your software and doesn't listen to you and does things wrong. It's like, you need to walk away from that the money they are paying you is not enough for what they're asking, basically. And
Yep.
you should focus your time on your A tiers or S tiers, which are like the no doubt slam dunk. Like for
Yeah, that's
you,
what
it would
I
be,
want to learn, because but then they
they
haven't
help
given
you
the
answer that question. You don't
Yeah.
have to have the answer here, but this is, again, it's called fast track, and they do it in cohorts, and they probably, it wouldn't surprise me if they're starting one. So again, if I can get you in, or get you signed up, so you got a slide, even I would say, even if it's already started, it's worthwhile enough. And again, it's $25. If you,
No,
even if
I
you
would sign up in a
only,
heartbeat. Yeah.
and it keeps you doing something. So it kept my schedule busy, that I never fell into the thing. And this is important when you work from home. Have events that pull you out. Have events that take you to these opportunities to do networking and stuff like that, or have people that you can ask questions to. Even as like, I literally don't know what to do next. What should I do? There are people there that literally, whose job it is to help tell you that. So as opposed to now, where it's just like, you get, you're in your home office, just like, I wonder if my ideas are good. It's, you get to bounce them off of people, test messaging, and tweak it. Like, I tried different target markets until I finally settled on the MSPs, MSSPs, IT VARs with cybersecurity practices, and the ability to deliver IT services on site in Maryland. You have 25 words to, it's an exercise that you're forced to do, and it's possible. It's hard, you know, trust me, but it's also a valuable exercise, because if you go through that, and then you articulate what you say is your perfect ideal customer, and then you look at available government data and realize that that's fantastic, but only, my target market is billionaires with large discretionary incomes that are looking for their second yacht. There is a market there, but that market is not very large, and that market is extremely well served by competitors who have way better offerings and more importantly, relationships than you do. You do not get the opportunity to sell Bill Gates' third yacht, because the person who's going to sell Bill Gates that third yacht already knows Bill Gates, and he's going to find out about it at, some weird sex party or something on Epstein Island, or however these business transactions are handled. Maybe that.
That's funny. I really wish we could talk about that. I want to
I
talk
mean,
like
we
this for the
could.
podcast.
It
I
would
do.
probably, unfortunately,
But I don't know. I don't know if Bob Zhang will sign off on something.
well, here's the
like
thing.
that.
Here's the fun part about doing this ourselves. Who gives a fuck? See what I did there? I dropped an F-bomb if I choose to. If we're recording this and my son watched it, he would yell at me. So
Yeah.
I'm pretty good at using fiddlesticks and, watching my P's and Q's. Selling to farmers makes you real good at not swearing and taking the Lord's name in vain, or being especially selling in other countries. Saying things like "holy cow" if you're selling into the Indian subcontinent. There might be some people that don't take kindly to that sort of thing. You dumb,
that'd be
ugly American.
that'd be fun.
Think about what you say. I'm one of the rare ones that actually is usually aware of such things, and I apologize on behalf of my less enlightened peers.
I think you'll be fine. People are not that.
I'm a comp sci major. I had to learn how to understand people who were from India because they were my TAs and my professors. I know how to understand people with all the various Asian accents. I know that it's pronounced Nguyen, not Nguyen. Things like that separate me from, a lot of these other places. And again, my name is Colin. People want to call me Colin. So for what it's worth, I understand why it effing sucks to have a name that people are really great at misspelling or getting it wrong and just being, again, it's an Irish name. We spell it with one L. It's pronounced Colin, not Colin, not Collins, not, however weird, not with a K. Like, no, Colin. It means like, king in my, my ancestors. My family came here as part of Angleterre, the Great Famine, when, we Irish people stopped being able to, like, farm potatoes. And the British made us sell food during starvation. And so we had to, like, either starve or leave. And my great great grandfather left and he came here. And I am the fourth generation who is my middle name is Patrick. That is the family name that we brought from Ireland. My son's name is Ryan Patrick Hamill. I have done my part to my ancestors. And I've told Ryan, like, by the way, there's some responsibility in the fact that you are the holder. Like, we've been passing this balloon along for since people who are long dead were doing it in another country that you don't even know anymore. I visited Ireland, but I'm as Irish as and let me tell you, being a member of the Maryland Innovation Center, or as it is cheerfully called regularly, the MIC, that we had to choose the MIC. Okay. The Historical Affiliation for Justice, or the National Integrators of Ghana. We wouldn't use those as acronyms. And yet, it's the MIC. So what are you going to do? Because here's the beautiful thing. After 4 generations, I'm as white as the Brits that starved my ancestors. So, it's just, that's the God honest truth. And that would definitely be a little bit of a blue subject, especially with the government, but it's true. Everybody has their own story. And I feel comfortable that, I got hooked up with Tradewinds networks because of my work in digital equity, trying to figure out how to bring STEM education to poor kids in West Baltimore, or how to bring it to poor rural areas, in areas where farmers are considered to be little more than country bumpkins who wouldn't know their ass from a hole in the ground, and yet we depend upon them 100% for all of our food. So, I like to eat food periodically, so we can't just, because the big cyber companies have decided that people that grow plants for a living can't afford multi-million-dollar cybersecurity infrastructure, ergo screw them. That seems like a really, really short-sighted and stupid, thing to do if it were up to me. These people need to be protected, and that's how I met it. It was, I'm walking the walk, I'm talking to people in less connected, and finding out that overlap between rural and urban exists. They don't have access, both of them don't have access to the internet. And the reason that the reason that the poor white people in the rural areas and the poor black people in the urban areas, the reason that they don't have affordable broadband options is not because of the color of their skin, it's the poor part. They're poor, and the place where they live is difficult for different reasons. In the urban areas, these are built out urban cores that were built well before the idea of modern IT infrastructure was even conceived of. So you have lots of brick, you've got lots of underground pipes and things that don't play very nice with wireless signals. It's expensive to lay fiber in an urban area. On the other hand, out in the rural places, it's super duper easy to do it because they're just open spaces. But man, oh man, are people spread out. And you could spend a huge amount of money to hook up 30 people that are not going to be able to spend $40,000, to run that. The only reason my parents have broadband options in St. Mary County is because the Biden administration passed a grant, which was specifically, it's the same way we did electrification 100 years ago. Poor people in Appalachia really ought to have electricity and indoor plumbing. How do we do that? Well, we solve it with things like the NRECA, the National Rural Electrification Co-op Association. It just, we don't know about it because it's been in place for so long that we just assume that electricity is a profitable endeavor in West Virginia. It's not. We have to do the same thing for broadband. It's just doing that is easier said than done and requires cooperation between so many different groups that are not really that great at working with each other or being even marginally aware. I would bet dollars to donuts that Frederick County or Garrett County, probably they could very well have a cybersecurity accelerator. Do we know about that? Does the people in Howard County know about that? Are they expected to know about that? Is there someone at the state level who's coordinating that? Probably not. They would be super duper thrilled if you organized it for them. And that's where I see, again, I have an MBA. I'm an entrepreneur. I am a capitalist by definition.
Yeah.
But, and I think undeniably there are things that private for-profit businesses can do more efficiently than a government. Unfortunately, that's not true for everything, and providing comprehensive protection for poor people ain't one of them.
Yeah, that's
and yet,
yeah, I gotta hop
it's
now.
great talking with you again. I'm gonna send the recording out, and we'll just keep on doing this. I'm gonna talk. The thing is tomorrow is that in person or is that
No, that's in person.
Okay.
I did it for in person. Yeah.
Let's do it in person. I'm allowed to go places, so I'm gonna ask him, like, do we have to give the badges back? Because I really liked it as a prop. You can disable it. I just want to have it around my neck when I go to events so I can have 2 badges. That way I look extra important to
Yeah.
Good talking to you as always. Thank you for the demo. I think it's great. I think you're onto something, and let's keep this going. I'll get you
I'm
the
gonna
MIC
keep going.
stuff.
Huh?
I'll find out about the MIC stuff.
Yeah, please do, because I'd be super interested, but I can't afford $300 a month right now.
Yeah, and that's exactly why they give it away. And unfortunately, the process of I got 3 months free when I did one of these things. That's their hook. There's a new person that Pauline is new. Chuck is the old person that did it, and so there's some blocking and tackling issues. They mean very well. Sometimes it's not always smooth. They know me mostly, and they like me because I'm told I'm charming. And I can this is literally my job, is to concierge this sort of thing for you that you're entitled to.
Yeah, thanks. I mean, if we can do that, that'd be awesome, because I'm onto something, and now is when I really need.
Yeah, you are. And there very well could be some members of the MIC that are quite literally just like, again, I would not have met Gordon if it hadn't been for the Cybersecurity Accelerator. That could very well be the same story for you, with the MIC being the one.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna go. Let you go to your next call.
All right, take care.
With you.
Yeah, see you tomorrow. Bye.
See ya. All right, bye-bye.